Welcome to the Thrive TV show with Lauren Parsons, helping you boost your health, energy, and productivity.
Kia ora koutou, and welcome to another episode of the Thrive TV show. I'm Lauren Parsons, your host, and today I am joined by the two raw sisters, Rosa and Margo. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So nice to connect with both of you. It's the first interview I've ever done with two people, although actually I was just saying congratulations, Rosa, because there's actually three of you there right now.
There's one cooking in the oven.
Yeah. So very exciting. I know you guys have got wonderful, busy lives. I met you when you did a live cooking demo in my hometown of Palmerston North, talking all about how to be intelligently lazy. And I loved it. I love the banter, and I totally love your philosophy. So today we're going to chat about how you can save yourself time, save money on your grocery bill, and feel great by creating recipes that use good, seasonal, minimally processed ingredients that are cost effective. So I'm really excited. Before we dive into that though, can I just ask you my this and that questions? Are you ready?
Absolutely. Hit us.
Okay, so tell me, cats or dogs?
Dogs. 100% dogs.
I've got 3 dogs.
So
definitely.
Sorry? Stripes or spots?
Stripes.
Yep, stripes.
Oh, you're in sync. Okay, how about, would you rather go for a week without your car or a week without the internet?
Well, originally I thought internet, but now car.
Yeah, 100% car.
Okay. Beachfront or mountaintop?
Beachfront. Oh, we're so
similar. You're not in sync on. I'm really intrigued.
Are we sisters?
Chocolate or cake?
Chocolate.
Oh,
you're not a cake person.
Yeah, chocolate.
Okay, and fresh salad or cooked veggies?
Fresh salad.
Cooked veggies.
Oh, we got one where you're different.
There
okay, beautiful. So Margo and Rosa are the founders of the Two Raw Sisters, and yes, they are sisters. They love sharing recipes that make you feel great through their 4 best-selling cookbooks and the internationally recognized Two Raw Sisters app. They inspire all eaters every day to see food as enjoyment by using good ingredients and being intelligently lazy. I love that phrase. Neither of them are vegan or vegetarian. They believe in eating everything in moderation, as do I. So it's a joy to have you here. So can we start by, I'd love to hear a little bit, I know, of your backstories and why you got into what it is you're doing now.
Sure. Do you want to hit it off, Ro? Do you want me to start?
You can start if
okay. Rosa and I, we never envisaged having a business together. We actually didn't really like each other as we grew up. We were very competitive because we were both going through quite different issues. So Rosa was an elite athlete for New Zealand, and she had a training obsession and an eating disorder. And I have chronic fatigue and endometriosis. So Rosa was training a lot and I couldn't train. So we were just kind of butting heads a lot of the time. But as we got better and kind of out of our ruts, we both had a huge passion for food and the purpose to educate people on how they can incorporate more minimally processed foods. But we wanted to take a really relatable approach to that, because food can quite often be so complicated and complex and expensive, but it really doesn't have to be that way. So we really wanted to create a platform that used plants as the forefront. So, you know, being more plant forward is what we like to say. But as you just said, we're not vegan or vegetarian ourselves. We do eat meat. It's just changing people's mindset on how they start a meal. So rather than always starting with the meat, let's start with the plants first. And I suppose that our point of difference there was what we started with. It used to be very niche, and I think now it's a lot more mainstream. But that's been our why from the very beginning, and that's kind of the starting point to everything Two Raw Sisters, really.
Yeah, beautiful. So Rosa, can you tell us about your philosophy and why it makes it so easy for people?
I think, as Mark said, it's super relatable for a lot of people, and we welcome all eaters to use our recipes. So whether you're gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, a meat lover, we can cater for you and provide you with recipes that make you feel great. A big thing at the moment, which we've been talking about a lot with the rest of the team, is the cost of living. It's on everyone's mind. Everyone's more time poor. They're working longer hours. Food's expensive. And there's a big gap around food insecurity. And educating people on how they can utilize seasonal produce and what's available right now, because a lot of people are turning to those readily available, convenient foods, ready-made meals, because they think it's cheaper, it's easier. But actually, in fact, eating a healthy, nutrient-dense diet can be actually cheaper than grabbing those ready-made, convenient meals. So, yeah, there's a big message that needs to be put out there, but it's finding the way that we do that and showing people in the most easiest way possible is key. So yeah, as we've been saying, we're having to adapt all the time at the moment and trying to get people on board and show people that it is actually easy, which can be also the challenging part, because a lot of people might sideswipe it and think, oh no, that's expensive, healthy eating's expensive, but it's debunking that myth.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think there are so many myths to debunk. Whenever I speak around food, I always start by talking about how confusing it is. You know, we used to say, oh, eat porridge. Porridge is good for you. And then it's like, no, you can't eat grains. And you must have a vegan diet. No, you must have high protein. You know, it just goes around in circles where there's almost nothing left for people to eat. So, yeah, my philosophy is let's keep it simple. And I was saying before, like when I brought out my book, I called it Real Food, Less Fuss, because yes, we know we need to eat more real food, but I don't want people to go, oh, come on, Lauren, I don't have time for that. Yes. So for me, it's all about how do we make it easier? And, you know, I have a little philosophy of create a freezer library. Like whenever you take time to cook, quadruple batch cook, freeze 3 meals, serve one up. And if you do that, you actually need to cook 2 nights a week, and you can have every other night off. And often things are nicer, you know, reheated.
And it only takes, you know, an individual to actually do it, and it's getting to a point where you inspire that individual to do it, and then they actually realize how amazing it can be. We've talked to so many people through our workshops, and we get a lot of feedback where it's like, oh my gosh, I made my breakfast for the first time. I batch made it on a Sunday, and then I had it sorted for the whole entire week, and I've never felt so good. I feel energized, I feel organized, I feel on top of things, and I'm going to keep doing it because I feel great from it. So it's getting people to that point where they actually are doing it and actioning it, which can be the tricky part. But you just got to keep inspiring people every day, which is what we love.
Yeah. I always talk about the knowledge action gap. Often there are things we know we could do or should do, and there's what we actually do day to day. And I love that. I think we're both very aligned. It's about just inspiring people to take the jump to, oh, I might just soak some overnight oats, or I know you did an oat and chia pudding kind of combined thing when you did the cooking demo where I was live, and that seemed amazing. And you know, people just got to experiment and give it a go, don't they? So if people are listening in and they perhaps haven't done a lot in this area, what would be some of your go-to tips to help them get started to make it easier?
Starting with one thing first, I think, is really important, because we quite often talk about prepping breakfast, lunch, and a snack, but for someone who has never meal prepped before, that can be quite overwhelming. So breakfast, I think, is the best place to start for us. It's a non-negotiable for us. If we don't have time for anything, it's always breakfast, because it does take 5 to 10 minutes to make a big batch, and fueling yourself with a really good breakfast is such a game changer. And we really do notice the benefits throughout the day in terms of hunger levels and energy levels and how we're feeling. So I think starting with breakfast is a great place.
Yeah. And so when you say that 5 to 10 minutes, is that prepping for the week, do you mean? Or,
we always say it takes the same amount of time to times a recipe by 5 as it does to times the recipe by 1. So like you're saying with your freezer library, always make more than what you think, because being intelligently lazy, you really do benefit from it in the future.
A great example was that the other night I was going to cook a curry for dinner, and I at the last minute remembered, oh my gosh, I've got curry paste in the freezer that I can grab out, that I'd made a big batch of like 3 weeks ago, that I'd completely forgot about. Rather than having to spend, 10, 15 minutes making one, I just pulled it out of the freezer and defrosted it and used it. And it was literally a 5-10 minute meal. It's so great knowing, well, I find this personally, I know you do too, Marg, knowing that you've got something there that's nutrient dense that you can grab and go, which makes you feel great. And then I feel like once people do that once or twice, it becomes a non-negotiable for them.
Yeah, so good. I can remember when we first moved to Canada, and I didn't have anything in my freezer. My freezer library was non-existent, and it was so challenging that first week trying to unpack. And also it was like, oh, I have to cook from scratch again. I don't have time for this. And so we ended up ordering takeout, and which is often overpriced and going to undernourish you. But once I got the freezer library in place, it just changed everything. And I think you're so right that it's those small habits that add so much energy for the whole rest of the day.
Yeah, it was like in summer as well, like I stewed a whole heap of fruit from the fruit trees, and I made a whole heap of tomato sauce, and I've been batch making soups, and it's just been a game changer again, having that freezer library that I can just whip all this yummy nutrient dense stuff out of it and create these yummy meals from it. So it's great.
Nice. So what are some of your best tips that are going to, as you say, save people time and save people money?
A big thing for us is shopping seasonally. So a lot of people, again, find healthy eating really expensive, but majority of the time they're actually buying veggies that are out of season. And the best place to go is, either your produce store, or if you don't have a produce store nearby, a supermarket, and just grab whatever's cheap, whatever's on special. And that tends to be what's in season and what tastes the nicest. So that's our big thing, is on a Sunday or a Saturday, whatever day suits you, go and get your produce for the week, and then come home and plan your meals and substitute the recipes with what veggies you have at home, what fruit you have at home as well, rather than making your meal plan. If you do create a meal plan for the week, writing this huge list of ingredients and then going and you need eggplant, but eggplants are $8, but you have to get it because you want to make this recipe. That's when it gets really expensive. So going and doing your shop first, then deciding on what to make. And substituting, I think, is an absolute game changer. I love it. Whether you're substituting veggies, fruit, grains, nuts and seeds, use what you've got, use what you love at home, rather than, as I said, buying every single time you feel like you need to for every recipe that you make.
Yeah, totally agree. And there's so many subjects. I think it's just giving us permission to substitute, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it takes a weight off a lot of people's shoulders when we do educate them around substituting. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't have to follow a recipe step by step. And we're like, no, you absolutely don't. Like, get creative, use what you've got, use what you love. And it takes that stress away from the cooking, and people can enjoy it and just, have fun with it.
Nice. So Margo, what are some of your favorite things to cook, or some of your go-to meals?
Oh, I'm really bad at following a recipe, but I really love all of our bowls on our app, on our Two Raw Sisters app. I think I'm a real bowl person, and as I said before, I really love roasted veggies and a grain and nuts and seeds. Texture is really important to me. So having a well-stocked pantry is key, because I can then, no matter how much or little time I have, I can whip something up in 10 minutes or 45 minutes if I've got heaps of time. It's being smart with, cool, I've got a veggie that I can pan fry if I'm short on time, and I've got a veggie I can roast, and same with my grain. I've got a short cooking time grain and a long one. So I can stir fry some veggies, cook a quick grain, and then I've got a delicious bowl filled with yummy textures in 10 minutes.
What would be your quick cooking grain that you recommend?
Either quinoa or millet. So they both take 7 minutes. We always say we have 2 grains, 2 nuts and seeds in our pantry, and we rotate those. So again, giving you the confidence to substitute, so we're not spending all this money on unnecessary ingredients that we may not use. So if you want to learn more about that, we have a TV show out at the moment called My Dream Green Home, and we've done an episode on pantries with a flat, which was really cool. And if you're a visual person, we kind of run you through it visually.
Nice.
But yeah, that would probably be my thing.
You love snacks.
I love snacks. Chocolate snacks.
Chocolate snack. Okay, so what's your favorite chocolate snack? Tell us that.
Oh, my favorite chocolate snack. What would yours? I can't remember. I can't think.
I've just actually made millet nut chocolate bars. They're a muesli bar there's figs and dates and pumpkin seeds, Brazil nuts, puffed millet, and then a chocolate layer on top. And they are so yum. And I was saying on our Instagram the other day, if you're one who buys those expensive muesli bars from the supermarket, which half the time are filled with things we don't really want to be putting into our bodies, or we're not aware that we're putting into our bodies. These are a great option for you to make instead. And it literally took me, I've already made a second batch this week because my husband demoed them, which is great because I'd rather him demo them than buying packaged muesli bars and biscuits and him consuming those. And it took me 10 minutes to put together. It was in the freezer. I did a quick chocolate layer, poured the dark chocolate on top, set for a couple of hours, and then I had 12 muesli bars for the rest of the week. And it was cost me definitely under what it would cost me to buy them from the supermarket.
That's the annoying thing with boys, isn't it? They eat all your
yeah, my tip around that. Often when I recommend, baking, I love doing whole food baking and blending, sometimes just unbaked things. My tip again is using the freezer, like rather than making a whole batch. You don't need 24 on one day, just put them all in the freezer, and then it's just like my little beautiful snack. I can just get something out and leave it for a few minutes to defrost. You might like this, Margo, if you like chocolatey treats. I've got a choc nut bliss slice. I'll send you the recipe for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Blend together, and easier than bliss balls rolling them. You just press it out, cut. So all those little shortcuts. Yeah, I thought you'd like that shortcut. You already have that nailed.
Yeah,
so tell me some of the success stories or stories you love hearing from people that are using your app, that are using your philosophies. What are the sort of things you hear from people?
People really enjoy our all eaters welcome approach because, as we were saying before, food is so complex, but it doesn't have to be. And when you actually go to the root of food or the past history of food, it's so simple, yet we've made it so complicated. So that's really inspiring for us a lot of the time, is hearing people say, oh, my dietitian told me to count calories, or I was told to cut out meat, or I thought I couldn't have breakfast because I needed to fast, but you guys have inspired me to fuel my body properly and everything in moderation, but consuming mostly plants. And that's essentially our why and why we do what we do. People who have got a negative mindset with food but have now got a everything in moderation approach. So that really inspires me to keep doing what we're doing. And I think the intelligently lazy tagline that we have, a lot of people love that and can relate to that. And even just like we were saying earlier, starting with one thing, the breakfast, and then building on that, a lot of people really notice the benefits of making their food on a Sunday and spending 45 minutes doing that, and then reaping the benefits throughout the week.
Nice. I love it. It's just such a beautiful philosophy. And you mentioned several times now the words nutrient dense, which is like, I've got 32 wellbeing principles, and that is literally one of them, those words. So can you just explain to people what that means, the whole nutrient dense rather than highly processed, and how do we make that easy?
Well, it's giving your body the fuel to do your day-to-day activities and what you need to function on a daily basis. And I think for people, when we say nutrient dense, what we're talking about is those seasonal fruit and veggies, making sure you're getting your recommended daily intake and using your whole minimally processed food. So that's your grains and your nuts and seeds. And that's essentially what we base all of our recipes around. And then it's substituting with what you enjoy most and what you have, rather than going for those foods that aren't actually giving your body anything, those highly processed, ready-made meals that leave you, you might fill a gap for 15 minutes, but then in the next 15 minutes, you're looking for something else and you're craving sugar all the time. And it's just so inconsistent in terms of your blood sugar levels and how you're feeling mentally, physically on a daily basis. And I know, having worked with a lot of people who have flipped their mindset and their lifestyle around, in particular food, and how much more energy they feel throughout the day, and that they don't have those massive cravings and those highs and lows all the time, and that they might be maybe eating a little bit more, but the food that they're eating is actually making them feeling better.
Totally, because that's what it's about, isn't it? It's like everyone wants to have great energy right through the day, but I think so many people are just so busy, they're caught up in that race of being stuck on those go-to convenience options.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't they don't realize that they're undernourishing their bodies until something happens, or they look back and they're like, "Whoa, this winter I've got sick 5 times, and I feel like I actually haven't kicked it completely." And they're just living like that on a day-to-day basis, and it's until you actually acknowledge it and make a change that you're like, oh my gosh, I can actually feel way better than what I've been feeling the last few months. And it was interesting, one of our employees came to me and was asking me around, her overall nutrition and diet and what she was consuming on a daily basis. And I sat down and said, oh, why don't you add in a little bit more plant-based protein, like make sure you have a grain with your meals and top it with nuts and seeds and drizzle it with some extra virgin olive oil. And
Nice.
in those little changes, she's actually feeling a lot better for. And I always say to people, like, look at your meal and think about what more can you add to nourish your body and make it more of a nutrient dense meal, rather than having that mindset around what can I take away to reduce the calories.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
I think that's a really good thing for people when they're thinking about their meals. Oh, I haven't got any extra virgin olive oil on there. That's a great healthy fat. That's great for my skin, great for my hair, great for my nails. I'm going to drizzle that on top, rather than being like, got to cut out all my oils because that's extra calories. That's going to go over my daily calorie intake.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you're preaching the message around don't count calories. Like, it's just so restrictive. And we know that whenever we say to ourselves, oh, I can't eat this, or I shouldn't eat that, we actually crave it more. That, the psychology of food. I
feel like you're missing out.
We always say the hardest thing is starting, and so many people hear this mentality of meal prep and you'll really notice a difference. But unfortunately, when people are busy, food tends to be the first thing to go. But what we're trying to say is that not only will you save money, but you will actually save your time. You will actually save yourself so much time as well. So those high processed, convenient foods tend to actually take longer than if you were to meal prep a nutrient dense meal on a Sunday.
Yeah, totally agree. I can remember years ago I did zero meal planning, and I think perhaps it was also before kids, but I was in a workaholic phase where I'd get home at 8 o'clock at night. I'd get out, one frozen chicken breast and think, right, what am I going to cook? And it was just no planning. So going from that to now, just menu planning the week, and usually it's like, I'm going to defrost, we're going to reheat that. Oh, I'm going to cook tonight, And I love as well the philosophy of, you don't have to think, what's for dinner tonight? Oh, it's beef. Oh, it's chicken. Oh, it's fish. When we lived in Goto, we had veggie boxes delivered once a week, and it was just whatever was seasonally available. And I learned all these new vegetables that I'd never even tried before. And so I would Google and be like, right, we're going to base our dinner around whatever it was, or we're going to have dinner based around cauliflower. I loved the other night you cooked a beautiful curry, and it was just a mix of gorgeous vegetables and colour and flavour. So it doesn't necessarily have to be starting with the meat first and then, just a few little veggies. Also, living in France, over there, we always had a vegetable entree and then veggies with the main. So you're just getting more veggies. And it sounds so simple, but it is life-changing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is for sure.
So tell us, if people wanted to find out more about you guys and your app and all the tools and resources, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So we're on everything. Pretty much. So if you want to learn more day to day or get to know us a bit better, you can follow us on Instagram, just at Two Raw Sisters. We're also on Facebook and TikTok with the same handle. And our app, you can learn more about that on our website, tworawsisters.com, and you can just subscribe through the App Store or Google Play. And we've also got a podcast as well. So whatever platform you listen to your podcast on, you can find us there, and we talk about various different topics, from how to build your own pantry to what it's like to work with your sister.
Pregnancy.
Rosa talks a lot about pregnancy.
Yeah.
So you can get to know us on many different platforms, whatever suits you.
Nice. I love it. And as we've been chatting, I've been looking behind you at this beautiful space. So if you are listening into the audio version, head to thrivetvshow.com and you'll be able to see the video version. And can you tell us a bit about the space behind you?
Yeah, sure. So we're doing this podcast in our Two Raw Sisters kitchen, which is in Christchurch, city, and we run all of so we do workshops. Margo didn't mention that, did you?
Oh no, we do workshops too.
We do workshops, so we do one a month here in Christchurch, and then we do 2 big New Zealand tours a year, normally at the start and the end of the year. And this is where we host them in Christchurch behind us. And then we also do all of our recipe testing in here. So a lot of our work at Two Real Sisters is creating delicious, cost-effective, seasonal recipes for people to create and enjoy. So that's on our app and our cookbooks, our Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So this is where we create everything here. We shoot everything in here, do all of our filming content in here as well. So it's a great space. And it also is our space where we work from, with desks and computers and whatnot.
No.
So it's very
Multi-purpose.
multi-purpose space, that's for sure.
Beautiful.
But we love it.
It's very cool. It's so nice, isn't it? Interacting with people and hands-on doing it is the way to learn, isn't it? Margo, I also just wanted to, because I know it's a really powerful story, can you just share a little bit about how life-changing it was for you once you essentially, it sounds as though you really healed your body through the way that you were eating. Can you just tell us a bit about that? Because I really want to inspire people to take action and just experiment and try some of this goodness out.
Yeah, sure. So I, with my chronic fatigue, had 5 years of health professionals telling me there was nothing I could really do. It was just a rest and get over it scenario. And Rose and I went over to the States to do a little bit of study, and I met this lady, and she said, have you ever focused on gut health? And very much a buzzword now, but I hadn't heard of it a few years ago. And I essentially did this big gut reset, and within 3 months, my chronic fatigue had pretty much disappeared. So that was pretty mind-blowing, from having 5 years here of being told there was nothing I could do to 3 months of it pretty much going. But a big thing for me that got me into food was, it wasn't expensive specialists and supplements. It was simply just focusing on minimally processed ingredients that everyone has at home. Rice, pumpkin seeds, vegetables, all those things that are cost effective and cheap.
Again, going back to the basics.
Going back to the basics.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like, majority of people don't have to do the extent of a gut reset that I did. But for the average person, if we just maintain and make sure we're eating those good ingredients, then we're naturally going to improve our gut health, which then in turn improves our overall health and well-being.
Beautiful. I love it. And I think even if people aren't perhaps experiencing chronic fatigue, I think there's a lot of people that are just, there's just the edge taken off what could be the energy, their vitality. So it's just moving us in that direction.
Yeah.
And Rosa, can I ask you to share, in terms of like the mindset shift you had around food from when you were competitively running, and the mindset shift, what was the key to that for you?
I think for me, as I was talking about a bit earlier, it's that mindset of not taking away things and thinking, how can I restrict myself and take away nutrients? Well, I didn't see them as nutrients. I saw them as ways that were affecting me and my health and my weight. It was what more can I add to nourish my body, to give me the energy to do the things that I want to do on a daily basis. And it's also thinking, for me, it was long term. I was so much in the now and what was happening with me right now, and comparing myself to other people constantly, thinking, oh, well, she's got abs and I don't have a six-pack. Well, I need to do something to make sure I can be exactly like her. And everyone's body is so different. And going through pregnancy for me has been a big game changer as well, and a huge learning experience, because your body is doing things that are essentially out of your control, but they're doing what they need to do to create a healthy baby. And I'm very lucky in the fact that I can do that after what I've put my body through. So it's, for me, and what I talk about a lot now, is what more can you add to nourish your body? What more can you do to get those nutrient-dense ingredients into your everyday lives in a simple, cost-effective way? And I suppose that's essentially now what we do at Two Real Sisters, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, thank you so much for your time. It's so nice just hearing your stories, getting to know you a little more, and hopefully inspiring listeners in to take action. So just to wrap up, can I invite you each just to share what will be one final tip for everyone that's listening in?
Just start.
Yeah.
Just start. Yeah. As I was saying before, the hardest part is starting, and start with one thing and nail that and then add other things.
Beautiful.
And
Anything to add?
following on from that, you know, if you're listening to this podcast and you think, oh my gosh, it's quite overwhelming, you know, I don't meal prep at all, but as Margo said, just start small and you'll see the benefits, and then that's when you'll continue to want to do what we're saying. And I think if you make it a priority, you'll find time. Like, don't have the excuse of, I don't have time to do that, I'm too time poor. I think that's, excuse my language, a shit excuse. Because in the long run, it will benefit you, and it will save you time, it will save you money.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
I think identifying what meal is most important to you. Like, it might be dinner, or it might be a work lunch because you buy your lunch at work all the time. So identifying one thing and doing that well.
Wonderful. And if people do want to check out your app, is there a way to sort of get a free start when they first sign on to it, to experience it all?
Of course, we've got a free 7-day trial on our app. So you just need to choose a membership, and then you can try it out for 7 days, see if you like it or not.
Perfect. Wonderful. Oh, well, thank you so much. So many wonderful ideas. Love your philosophy. Love what you guys are doing. All the best for growing this baby human and bringing him or her. Do we know?
Her.
Oh, bringing
another
her
sister
into the world. Oh,
yeah.
Another sister to join the sisterhood. Wonderful. Well, as a mother of 3 daughters, yep, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting. So excited.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all your time. Such a joy to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks for having us,
Thank
Lauren.
you.
Lovely to chat.
Lovely indeed. Well, thank you to everyone for listening in. That's another episode of the Thrive TV show. Go out and thrive.
Thank you for listening to the Thrive TV show with Lauren Parsons. Visit thrivetvshow.com to access the show notes and discover our fantastic bonus content. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next inspiring episode.